The Florida Gators play basketball today, and there was an insane spread on that game.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free reviews on the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Friday. Happy first day of March Madness for the Florida Gators. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI. This episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors. Grape is my favorite to choose from. If you need one now, grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store, gas station, whatever it may be. Stock up today and stay energized. And I wanted to talk about this spread a little bit for the Florida Gators because it is insane to me. And look, I get it, right? I get that the Florida Gators should dominate this game. I get that the Florida Gators are clearly the best team in this game. They are clearly a top, in my opinion, clearly top 3 team in the country, right? That's how I've looked at it. And I feel like I've been pretty open about that, right? Like I look at the top 3 teams in the country and the 3 teams that I think are most likely to actually win it all, Duke, Florida, and Houston are all in there. And I think you can put it in that order, right? I mean, Florida's built for this, sure. Duke has just been a team that has been a juggernaut, right? They have. Even when they got banged up, they've been a juggernaut. So I do think that, you know, they're clearly the best teams. But just for me, like, a damn near 30-point spread is a lot. Like a 28.5-point spread, which right now Florida is favored by 28.5 on FanDuel. That is a lot. Like I just, that's a spread to me that I look at, and that's a common trend, right? And it should be a common trend with the 1 seeds at least, right? You look at going into the tournament, Florida favored by 28.5. Duke favored by 32.5. Auburn favored by 31.5. Houston favored by 28.5. Like, that's the thing with these spreads is that they're supposed to be crazy. But for me, it's just tough to look at any game and say, should win by 30. Like, that's just crazy to me. But also, I understand it from the Vegas perspective, right? Like, you look at all the things that are going to go into setting this line, right? And we'll go in depth a little bit on some of them later, but you look at all the things that go into this line, and it kind of makes, like, I'm genuinely considering betting Florida to cover a 28.5-point spread, which I think is a really good indicator of how good I think this team is, at least me personally. I feel like I have not been a sunshine pumper about any sport at any time. And for Florida, like, the number 1 offense in the country on KenPom in adjusted efficiency, right? Number 1, most efficient. Going up against Norfolk State with a 213th defense, 213 out of 364. That's a big gap. Then Norfolk State, 166th offense, average, right? Florida, number 9 defense. To me, I mean, I think, and not just to me, but to Vegas as well, like, that indicates, hey, Florida's really good offense, really good defense. Norfolk State, average offense, really bad defense. Makes sense. Then you look at just the sheer number of possessions that you're going to get. Florida is the 42nd fastest offense in the country. And Norfolk State, 236th. They're a slower offense, but guess what? That doesn't matter. And until someone can prove otherwise to me, if there is a team where, let's say that these 2 teams are perfectly even, right? Let's say that these 2 teams are perfectly even teams, but one is up-tempo and one is down-tempo, one's slower. The up-tempo team dictates the pace, okay? And this is a case where the significantly better team is the up-tempo one. They're going to dictate that pace. So while Norfolk State may be a slower offense, that doesn't matter because Florida's going to push the pace. And if they don't push the pace, that's a failure. Florida should absolutely be pushing the pace there. So I look at it and I say, well, Florida should dominate the pace. They're the much better team. You look at the 4 factors. Florida dominates in every one, except for I guess we'll say forcing turnovers. Florida's not been great at that. Defensively and offensively, they've been pretty bad at getting to the line. But outside of those, Florida dominates here. And when you look at this matchup on paper, Florida dominates it. That's it. Like this is a game where one of the very few times I will see a damn near 30-point spread and say, I kind of get it. I do. And again, I am someone who is typically pretty reserved on stuff like that, but yeah, I get it. Like Florida is just again a top 3 team in this tournament. I don't give a damn about what Auburn's ranking was, what their overall seed was, any of that. Florida's a top 3 team in this tournament in the country. Yeah, sure. And Auburn ain't. So I don't care about that part. But you look at Florida and how they match up here. And I get it. Again, I get it. Like I wouldn't touch it was 31.5 for Auburn. Wouldn't have touched that before the tournament. Don't care. I don't care about how these things play out, right? I'm talking about, do they make sense to do? And Houston 28.5 shouldn't make sense either. They don't have the offense, I think, to really separate like that. Like stuff like that is how I'll look at it. Again, this is just talking objectively, ignoring results from yesterday. This is just talking objectively. Like that's how I would look at it. I can see Florida going into a game and saying, all right, yeah, like 28.5, sure. Duke 32.5, sure. Houston, they win a ton of games. They can dominate some teams, but I don't expect them to. But when I look at Florida and I look at the spread, I say, yeah, they're the significantly better team. That's also up-tempo, so they're going to be the one dictating pace. Norfolk State, horrible shooting team, which again, we'll elaborate on all these things. But talking about the keys to not just winning this game, but covering the spread, we'll get to that when we get back with Locked On Gators. We're all about stats here, right? You know, we've been talking about it here. And numbers don't lie. And especially in basketball, I feel like they are way more indicative of results. When it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level with the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds. It can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear, wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews. Take your adventure to new heights with the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. And daylight savings has snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through, right? Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, which if you're not doing it, like, come on, be real. We get these late games, just one stretch every year, just late game excitement. It's fun, right? So drink 5-Hour Energy. Gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. And I will always say my favorite, grape. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. If you need one now, grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Thanks for being Locked On Gators, your first listen of the day, every day. We are available daily and free breakfast in the podcast and on YouTube. And again, we're going to look at the Gators' offensive keys here. And I've said this before. Like, I know that I expect Florida to win this game by a lot. You expect Florida to win this game by a lot. And you should. And I should. And I can say that, you know, evanmia.com, who we talked about yesterday, they have Florida with a 96.3% chance of winning this game. I'd say it should be like 98.8, right? Like it should be way higher, even with the already, hey, they've got basically no chance. It should be higher. Florida should dominate this game, but this is sports, right? This is sports. This is basketball. And most importantly, this is March. We're not overlooking anything. And so for the Florida Gators, when we talk about winning this game and again, covering a 28.5-point spread, I think one of the biggest factors is that offensive rebounding that we've talked about. Like dominate the offensive glass. Florida is the number 8 team nationally in offensive rebounding percentage. Okay. Number 8 nationally. And offensive rebound percentage is your offensive rebounds divided by your field goals missed. And so on Florida's missed field goal attempts, they get the offensive rebound 38.1% of the time. Okay. 38.1%. That is nuts. That's basically for every 5 misses, they're getting 2 offensive rebounds. There are 3 teams in the tournament that have a better offensive rebounding percentage than Florida. Okay. Texas A&M, St. Mary's, and Troy. And that's it. And again, like you could look at St. Mary's and Troy and say, yeah, well, they're good teams in worse conferences. So they should have those better numbers. Texas A&M, I mean, hey, they played in the SEC just like Florida. They did. So yeah, you can look at St. Mary's and Troy and say, yeah, well, strength of conference, all that stuff. Because again, there are good teams in those conferences. There are. However, when the good teams in those conferences play the bad teams in those conferences, it is way different than when a good team in the SEC plays a bad team in the SEC. That's what I'm getting at there. It totally makes sense. But man, they destroy those worst teams. But I look at the offensive rebound percentage and I say, hey, so Florida has done a fantastic job dominating the offensive glass in the SEC, right? 38.1% offensive rebound percentage. And when you look at what Florida does in SEC games, that number is 35.8%, which is still second in the SEC. Okay. Both Texas A&M and Florida, their percentages drop considerably when you go conference only. Norfolk State, 33.8% of offensive rebound opportunities go to the offense. As in, when Norfolk State is defending a shot and someone misses, every third shot is rebounded by the opposing team. And that's while playing in the MEAC. That's what I'm talking about. That's playing in the MEAC. You've got that bad rating. Can you imagine what it's going to be when you play an SEC team that's good at that? Or any team that's good at that? Again, that's one of those analytical things that we talk about now, where I know that people hate analytics in basketball. I don't. I love it. I'm a nerd. If you can't hear me, see me, ever spoken to me, I'm a nerd. I get it. I love analytics in basketball. When we talk about the 4 factors, it's effective field goal percentage, turnover percentage, offensive rebound percentage, and free throw rate. Okay? Offensive rebound percentage is one of those 4 factors that says, hey, if you're good in these, you'll probably win the game. If you win these, you'll probably win the game. If you win these, you'll probably go far. You'll probably do a lot. That's the analytical mindset there. Another thing is the Florida Gators just threes and volume, I'm going to say. Okay? The Florida Gators, 43.6% of their shot attempts are from 3. Okay? 43.6% of the Florida Gators shot attempts are from 3. It's a lot. Okay? However, that's still 75th in the country. So it's a lot, but it's still not outrageous. And in SEC play, that number went up to 44.8%. So they shot more threes in SEC play. Makes sense. So 43.6% of the Florida Gators shot attempts are from 3. Norfolk State, 27.7%. Okay? Which you could say, hey, that's not really indicative of talent there. Because you could say, hey, just because they don't shoot a lot of threes doesn't mean they can't shoot threes. By the way, that 27.7% is 360th in the country out of 364. They're a bottom 5 team in terms of how frequently they shoot threes. It's not a good spot to be in, okay? And Florida is relatively average in terms of allowing 3-point looks. Okay? And not only are we talking about the volume there, I say the volume because Florida shoots a lot of threes. Yeah. And when you're the up-tempo team and you're shooting a lot of threes, 3 is more than 2. So while Norfolk State likes to rely on 2s, that isn't going to help them. We'll talk about that next. But it's not just the volume, it's the shooting percentage. Florida shoots 35.5% from 3. Okay. Norfolk State, you like how I say, okay, after I give you a stat, Norfolk State shoots 31.2% from 3. While that is just a 4.3% difference in shooting percentage, one, that adds up over time. Two, that's actually a huge gap. It doesn't, like 4% doesn't sound like a huge gap, right? But Florida shooting 35.5% from 3, that is 85th in the entire country. Norfolk State shooting 31.2% is 306th in the entire country. That is a massive gap. That, I think that should help put into perspective for you, at least, if it hasn't already been put into perspective, how big 4% really is. Okay? That 4% matters, especially when you talk about, let's say, 100 3-point attempts. Obviously, no team shooting 100 threes in a game, but when you talk about 100 3-point percent, that's 12 more points there. That adds up over time, because over the course of the season, you're shooting way more than 100 threes. So that adds up over the course of time. So I think that they don't shoot well from 3 and they don't shoot a lot of threes. You do shoot well from threes and you shoot a lot of threes. Just go shoot a lot of threes. And those threes in volume, Norfolk State just simply won't be able to keep up. Even if they shoot more threes than usual, they would have to shoot considerably more threes than usual. And they would have to make considerably more, a considerably higher percentage of threes. Both of those things happening just doesn't sound likely. I do think another thing that Florida needs to really focus on, not turning the ball over. This is a thing we've talked about where Norfolk State's defense, statistically, pretty good at forcing turnovers. I've said this before. I think that a good chunk of that is because of their weak conference. The MEAC, just not good this year. It wasn't. Norfolk State won the MEAC, and they're the 180th team in the country. So I do think that number is inflated because of the MEAC. And when you take them out of the conference, that changes as well. So I do think that, like, when you look at in-conference numbers, Norfolk State forces a turnover on almost 20% of their defensive possessions. That number drops to 18.6 when you look at their out-of-conference as well, or when you include out-of-conference. Then we talked about this yesterday or 2 days ago. We talked about this 2 days ago, where Norfolk State played 3 Power 4 teams this season. They forced 6 turnovers, and 8 turnovers. That's not going to win you a game. So Florida, you can't have stupid turnovers, because a lot of Florida's turnovers, they are kind of like they just go absent-minded for a second. Lackadaisical pass. Like, I know I had a comment that was like, oh yeah, it's usually from them trying to thread the needle with difficult passes. That's the thing. It's really not. A lot of times it's just passes that aren't there and you lazily pass it, or you dribble way too much, put yourself in a tough spot, and then that folds. Stuff like that. That can't be what happens in a game like this. You can't give them that fighting chance. You can't give them those possessions, which you should dominate possessions. Just the number of possessions, you should dominate there. With your offensive rebounds, turnovers, or we'll say you should dominate field goals attempted. Yeah, you should have way more than Norfolk State. You should. We are going to talk about what the Florida Gators need to do on defense when we get back with Locked On Gators.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. To wrap up this episode of Locked On Gators, I am Brandon Olsen, of course. And we're talking about the Florida Gators defensive keys against Norfolk State tonight. For me, I think there's three things again that we're going to talk about, right? First, limit Brian Moore. Okay. Brian Moore is someone that we mentioned Wednesday as he is the driving force of this offense. He is the guy that Norfolk State is going to look at every single time and say, okay, you're the guy that needs to win this game for us. So, like, you're the guy that needs to give us our offense. You are the guy. Like Spy Kids 3. You're the guy. That's what they're going to do. They're going to look at him every single time and say, hey, you're the guy that needs to win this game for us. You're the guy that needs to lead our offense. Looking again at evanmia.com, which is something that we've looked at multiple times here at this point. When looking at scoring volume, he's their guy that he's going to score a lot of points. He's going to do most of the playmaking, the passing. Like I mentioned before, he likes to get to the paint. He likes to kick out. And he likes to get to the foul line. Like he gets to the free throw line, and he is an efficient shooter from the line as well. Something Florida doesn't have much of outside of Walt. That's one thing where Norfolk State, pretty good shooting from the free throw line. Okay. You know how I said 4% shooting percentage is a big difference? It is from the free throw line as well. Norfolk State shoots about 4% better from the line than Florida does. And so Brian Moore Jr., or I don't know why I threw Jr. in there. Brian Moore likes to get to the line. He likes to dribble, penetrate, and I do think that you can't let him get going, okay? He is going to be the one where if you slow him down, okay, like you force him, which also, if I'm Florida, and Todd Golden has done this before, so it wouldn't shock me if he did this again, I'm putting Alijah Martin on Brian Moore, okay? Like, especially in the tournament, I feel like you got to go, hey, like you could look at Chaz Lanier in the SEC championship. Todd Golden put Will Richard on him. He's like, hey, you're going to be the guy. Go get him. Great. I look at Alijah Martin as he should be doing that on the opposing team's ball handling guard. Okay. He should be the guy where it's like, all right, well, Brian Moore, he's going to be the driving force of the offense. Put Alijah Martin on him and let Alijah Martin clamp him down. I've said Alijah Martin to me is the X factor in this tournament for Florida. Okay. He's got the experience to make a run. He's done it before at the Final Four with FAU. He's the best on-ball defender on the roster. No doubt in my mind about that one. And again, you look at wins and losses, and his production is a strong correlation to whether or not Florida wins. Him and Alex Condon are the two guys where their production is a strong correlation to does Florida win or does Florida lose? It's those two. So I look at Alijah Martin as the guy that should be the on-ball defender against most, if not all, of the primary ball handlers in this tournament. I think you have to limit Brian Moore. And if you limit Brian Moore, you slow him down, force him to take some inefficient shots, you're going to destroy them. So Alijah Martin should be the guy that you go, hey, go destroy. Staying out of foul trouble is another key thing. Again, like I said, like Brian Moore's trying to get to the free throw line. Okay. This is a Norfolk State team that the one area they are elite at offensively or really the one area they're elite at anywhere is getting to the free throw line. That's it. They don't have any elite dominating trait on defense. Even their turnovers, like, yeah, they're good at forcing turnovers by the numbers, but also they're still 91st in the country. Like just numbers wise, they're 91st. It's not elite by any metric. What they are elite at is getting to the line, which they do 39% of they have a 39% free throw rate, which means for every field goal attempt, free throw attempt divided by field goal attempt, 39%. So for every 5 field goal attempts they have 2 free throw attempts. There we go. Flubbed explaining that for a while, but we got it. We got there. So they do a great job of getting to the line. They're 34th in the country at getting to the line. Florida, not bad defensively in terms of fouls. Florida has a lot more on-ball fouls that aren't shooting fouls, right? It's a ball handler dribbles into them and they use their hands to defend. Stuff like that. It's going to get called in the tournament, of course. but stuff like that you just can't do against good free throw shooting teams. And you can't do it against teams that are already good at getting to the line. Because once you get those on-ball fouls, they're going to start just driving to the paint and trying to get to the line. And that's going to be a pain. One thing that I think Florida should do defensively, give them their middies, okay? Give them their middies. Because Norfolk State, they have almost 60% of their points come from 2-point range, right? They don't shoot a lot of threes. We discussed this. They get to the line, good. But they like shooting their middies. Let them shoot their middies. There is no reason that Todd Golden and this Florida Gators coaching staff, which has very heavily been like, hey, we're totally fine giving up these inefficient shots. Like, there's no reason they should be opposed to that. They are so analytically oriented, and analytics tell you mid-range game bad, that the mid-range game is dead. You look at a Florida Gators shot chart after a game, and most of their shots are in the paint or from three. Again, the most efficient shots in basketball, Todd Golden has said this so many times, most efficient shots in basketball, around the rim twos, catch and shoot threes. That's what he wants his guys to get. That's what they're going to go for. The least efficient shot, specifically the least efficient shot in basketball is a baseline midi. But midi in general, inefficient. If you are an analytically oriented team and you get beat by inefficient shots, then you aren't like that to begin with, right? That's the only way I can explain. If you are an analytically oriented team that's going to say, hey, we're going to crash the boards, we're going to get inside, we're going to hammer inside, and we're going to shoot a lot of catch and shoot threes, and you get beat by a MEAC team shooting middies, then you aren't like that to begin with. And so I've said this before. I think Florida should go out there, play zone. And if Brian Moore wants to get into the paint, have Alex Condon, Ruben Chinilu, Micah Hand-Lockton, have any of them just waiting for him in there. If he wants to kick out and have them shoot a ton of threes, go ahead. They don't have many scary three-point shooters. Christian Ings shoots a good percent from three, 45% from three. Everybody else below 35%. They've got one good three-point shooter. Worry about him, which I would imagine that could be like Will Richards' assignment, because that's usually how that works out. Although Christian Ings a little short, so maybe Walt there. But if you get beat by a team that's shooting middies, you deserve to lose. Simple as that. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day. We will be live after the game tonight. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I will see you all next time.